The subject of today's shir is a little bit different than I usually have on such a night, or on Shabbos Hagadol, and that's because of the times that we're in. But the first thing I would like to discuss is Sreifas Chametz. This is just the halacha l'maisa piece. Generally speaking, people burn their chametz. They have these communal burnings that go on, and that's wonderful. It's great, and it's not feasible nowadays. So I would like to say, many years ago, I used to sit together with one of the famous dayanim of Yerushalayim, and it's about 30 years ago, over 30 years ago, and somebody came in with a question about the challah which they burnt, and he told the person, don't burn your challah, dump it in bleach or turpentine and just throw it out. And the person, like a good shoal, just believed what the rabbi said and left. After the person left, I said to him, the Ramah says the minig is to burn challah. So he says, yeah, that's a very good minig, but you sit in my shoes long enough, you find out all the questions people have because they burnt their challahs and they made their stoves strafe and they made things strafe. It's much better to keep kosher than follow that minig. And that's why I tell people not to do like the minig, because of my experience with shoalim. I'm applying the same principle over here to the general population. If you have the wherewithal and you want to make your beer chametz the lechatchila way, good for you. And I'll tell you even how to do it. And I do this in my home all year long. This is not a Pesach issue. This is something which I do all year long, which is as follows. I take a chad pami tinfoil pan, and I take an empty egg crate, whatever that cardboard thing, whatever you call it, egg box, egg sheet, I don't know whatever it's called.
Right.
And I'm just telling you the way that I do it, which is actually a fascinating thing. I put a little bit of turpentine underneath the cardboard, and I put the challah on top of the cardboard. Therefore, the fuel burns underneath, creates a fire. There's air in between the challah and the thing that's holding it, and it will burn well. There are those, which is a great thing, and I have a chutzner. I put it in my chutzner. I leave it there, and it takes a half hour. I don't have to watch it. Everything is fine. It's a controlled environment. That'll work great for beer chametz also, if you want to do that. I don't think that most people are up to that. So, I don't do it in my kitchen, because there are always all kinds of problems with that and things that happen. And say you can't, but that's what I do. If you want to do that for beer chametz, kol hakavod, it's a wonderful thing. Just one of the issues, which I'm just going to share with you, is that many people, this happens by beer chametz also, people throw their chametz in, and then other people come and then they throw different kinds of chomer dalik on top of it, and makes a great fire, and then you're not in the midst of Sreifas Chametz, because your Chametz was nifsal me'achila, became invalidated as edible with the turpentine going on it even before the conflagration actually hit it. So the way I do it, the fuel is underneath, is not nifsal the challah from achila, it's not nifsal the chametz from achila, and everything is fine. That's wonderful. You can keep it in mind. If you want to do that, that's fine. But if you don't want to do that, which I would imagine that most people are not interested in that kind of an activity on Erev Pesach, so I suggest that you do not do these outside burnings, because they tend to bring a lot of campers to the campfire. We'll just leave it like that. And therefore, it should not be done unless you can do it in a way that you feel that it's really responsible. I don't know what the law is. Probably could be by tomorrow what I'm saying is illegal. Could be by today it's illegal. I'm not really sure. Someone to fill me in on that. But, we live in these changing times. But bottom line, law or not law, sense makes sense that you should not do something in public which is going to cause people to congregate over there. So therefore, what I suggest, and this is the simplest thing, and there's halachic basis for this, and not only is halachic basis for this, there is also practical basis for this. A person should take their chametz that they have, and they should make it into small, less than kazayas pieces, and flush it down the toilet. And that's the end. Now, there's an aspect of whether putting into the Beis HaKisei is good enough. Is that called beer or not called beer? I'm not getting involved. It's good enough. That's what you should do if that's what you have available to you. One should not make the bracha of beer chametz inside the bathroom. That's an important idea. And there is no mitzvah. People, I don't know what, some people are pyromaniacs, and that's, I'm not saying that's fine, but that's fine because it's not my subject right now. And they bring to beer chametz an unbelievable amount of stuff. There's no mitzvah in burning a lot of stuff. You burn yourself a kazayas, and that's the end of it. The rest of your stuff the day before should already be put into the waste bin. It'll be taken away before this man beer, and you should be finished with it. But there's no real reason to have all this extra burning, extra tircha going on for beer chametz. I think that that's an important nekuda. And I just mentioned again, this year, as all years, it's important that you keep your chametz packed away in a safeguarded place from the night before until the morning. And you have to remember the halach is, the place can say that one has to check their pockets before beer chametz. Even if you check your pockets the week before, the night before, in the day of beer chametz, one should check and make sure that his pockets are clean. All right, that's just a halachic update, something that has to do with this year. Anybody else have any questions about this year in particular? All right, the discussion that I would like to discuss is brachas on the mitzvahs of the Leil HaSeder. I'm going to start off with a question which is almost like an oxymoron, but I believe that it has to be asked because the Poskim asked this question. We make Kiddush every Shabbos, and that's a mitzvah. How come we don't make a bracha on Kiddush? That's an interesting question, but probably never thought about it. The Rishonim ask a question, why don't we make a bracha on the four kaises? The four kaises are a mitzvah, and they're deserving of a bracha. How come we don't make a bracha on the four kaises? So I'm going to read to you some of the answers. We're going to go through a few of the mitzvahs of the Laila. We're going to discuss the Adal Kaises, we're going to discuss Karpas, and we're going to discuss Mitzvah of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim, why these mitzvahs do not have brachas to them. All right. The Kolbo says, the aim of even though it's a mitzvah, learned out of psukim, and the reason is that we can't make this bracha because they're not all done together. We only make a bracha when we're going to do the mitzvah in one shot. A bracha that's going to be spread out over a long period of time, we don't make a mitzvah on that bracha. And that obviously needs to have some kind of an explanation. And maybe if we have time at the end, we'll come back to explain that idea. The next reason which some of the Rishonim say is that the first bracha, the first kos is Kiddush, and that is like a regular yontif, so wouldn't get a regular Daled Kaises because it's a regular Kiddush also. And then just on 3, you're not having the whole thing, therefore we don't do it. That's an answer which is given. That's an answer which is given by many poskim. Now I would like to discuss karpas. We have a rule. I can come to your house. I already ate my meal, Shabbos, and you say that you have to. You say that you want no. You would say that you want to hear Kiddush, but you don't want to drink the wine. So I say, I'll make Kiddush for you and I'll drink the wine. Okay, I can do that. Now let's say you want to drink the wine. I can make the Baruch for your Kiddush and you can drink the wine. even though the halacha is that they're not allowed to make a birchas hanenin for somebody else. But the bracha of kiddush is not a birchas hanenin. The bracha of kiddush is a birchas hamitzvah. The mitzvah is to make kiddush, and the mitzvah says drink the wine. So therefore, I can make a bracha for you. I can make a bracha for you on the kiddush, even though I'm not going to drink the wine. Similarly, I can make the bracha of hamotzi, al chilas matzah, for you. Why? Because it's a birchas hamitzvah. It's true that the mitzvah is to eat it, but the reason why you're making a bracha is not because you're hungry. It's because it's a mitzvah to eat. So being that that's the case, I can make that bracha for you. What about karpas? Can I make a bracha for you on karpas or not? That's the question which is discussed in the Rishonim. So the Tur brings a Bala Iter, and the Bala Iter says that why? Because it's just a birchas hanenin. All you're doing is eating karpas. Is karpas a mitzvah? What's karpas? I know a parent is going to say it's an onion, but what's karpas? Anybody want to answer? You're all muted, so even if you're talking, I can't hear you. Anyways,
But
yeah, I know what bracha you make on it, but is it a mitzvah? Is it a minig? Is it a nice thing? Can I skip it?
It's a prop.
Exactly.
It's a prop.
It's a prop.
Okay.
You got it to Levincha.
Okay, and therefore
It's one of the 15 steps of the Seder. It's part of it.
it's part of the Seder. So is the prop and part of the Seder the same thing or not? I'm not exactly sure, but it definitely is part of one of the 15 steps of the Seder, and it's supposed to be done. But is it a mitzvah? What would you say if I asked you, do you think you should make a bracha on the karpas? Not Adama. Make a bracha of Asher Ki Yisharu B'Nesef V'Tzivanu on Achilas Karpas. So the answer to that question, Alamdish answer that question was here. Let's see what the halacha is. Can I be mitzi you with karpas? If I can be mitzi you with the bracha on karpas, even though I'm not going to eat it, so that proves that it's a mitzvah. If it's a mitzvah, I should have to make a bracha. Asher Ki Yisharu B'Nesef V'Tzivanu on Achilas Karpas. If the halacha is that you could forego it, I have high blood pressure. I don't want to eat that salty stuff. If you could forego it, so then maybe you wouldn't make a bracha. So this is actually a machlokas hapoiskim, a machlokas rishonim, whether one can make a bracha for somebody else on karpas. And the bottom line in the poiskim is that one is allowed to make a bracha for somebody else because it's a chiyuv of the night. Aren't I a good lawyer? Did I just say that it's a mitzvah? It's not a mitzvah. What did I say? I didn't say anything. Okay, I could be Rosh Memshalah. Anyways, I'm going to read the Lashon of the Beis Yosef on this idea. The Shari Yerakas Afal Pi Sheina Chava Mikol Makom Kivin Shu Davar Hagoyrim L'Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim. Somebody said word props. That was Sheffer, right? It's a davar hagorim. Is that a good translation? Davar hagorim l'sipur yitzias Mitzrayim.
It's just like Manishtana. That you said 2 nights ago.
Crime. Okay. But Manishtana is not part of Magid, possibly. It's just a prop to get you to be there. Here, if you didn't do this, you're missing out on something which you're supposed to be doing. Right? It's not exactly the same thing. No. Anyways, the Beis Yosef says, "V'imkein mitzvahs karpas eino mitzvah b'fnei atzmo." Listen to these words. It's not a mitzvah b'fnei atzmo, ela tofel a mitzvah asay d'sipur yitzias Mitzrayim v'nichlal bo. So here we have a tofel that comes before the ikr. It's part of the mitzvah sipur yitzias Mitzrayim, because it's the entree to get you there. V'lachein ein mevarchin olav. All right. So, what did we say? We said that the reason why you don't make a bracha on karpas is because karpas is what? It's part of the mitzvah of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim. Now, there's somebody who asked the following question. And I think that all of you already know the answer to this question. So I would like to tell you what you know that you didn't know that you know. Okay? How much do you eat for karpas? Less than a kazayas. Dafka. We eat dafka less than a kazayas. Yehuda, I can't hear you because your mic is off. You have to eat less. You're supposed to eat less than a kazayas. Being that that's the case, the Shulchan Aruch Harav says that by maror one is obligated to eat a kazayas because the Torah said you have to eat maror, and all maror, all achilas are a kazayas. If you eat less than a kazayas, it's only called te'ima. It's not called achila. And being that you have to eat maror, you have no choice. You can't just take a little drop of it. You have to take a whole kazayas. That's the halacha by maror. So some said, well, avada, you can't make a bracha on karpas. Why? Because karpas, you could take less than a kazayas. So anything which is less than a kazayas is not an achila. So therefore you can't make a bracha on it. I think that this question is a total mistake. Why is it a total mistake? Because of the word that was used over here before. This is really only a prop. This isn't really an achila. This is just you're doing something in order that to get the kids to ask the question. You're doing something in order that the Leil HaSeder should carry on. And being that that's the case, that's not a reason to not make a bracha, because you don't need achila of achila. You need to have something which is just gets them going in the proper direction. That's one of the nekudos of karpas. Now, this idea.
Why would you need an achila chashuva? I mean, the regular bracha rishona is just for anything mashu also.
That I understand, but to say that Asher Kirishonim Mitzvahs Tzivano, what would you finish off the bracha? Al achilas karpas, right? That's what you would say, right?
So it has to be achila by definition.
I'm asking you, what would you say if you were the inventor of the bracha? What would be the lashon of the bracha?
Okay, right. Okay, al achilas karpas.
So it would have to be an achila. Maybe you'd omit the word achila, so you'd say karpas, and it could be less than a kazayas.
Al mitzvahs karpas.
Al mitzvahs karpas. Okay, fine. Okay, but that's the subject. That's part of the subject over here. Okay. Now I'd like to go to the mitzvah of.
Why don't we make the bracha? Why don't we make a bracha and eat a kazayas then?
Oh, so that's a whole discussion in the Paiskim. Why we discussed that in the Mishnah Berurah. With bedafka, there are those who eat bedafka more than kazayas, and those that eat less than a kazayas. I'm not going to get involved in that.
So we don't. So okay, but it sounds like it's a circle here. Well, you don't make the bracha because it's not a kazayas, but you don't make the kazayas something else. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's not a circle. There are different purposes for different things. But let's put it this way. I don't think that the important point of the Leil HaSeder is to make the bracha, right? We have klolim in halacha that we'd like to make brachas when we're doing mitzvahs. We have to find out why was it made this way, not that way. If we're not going to have a bracha, that's fine. We just want to know why. That's all. It's not that we have a special urge. This is not in a main group. We don't have a special urge to make brachas. We just want to know what the reasoning is. Now, I would like to go to Magid. And Magid, I think, is the most interesting of the questions. This is the central feature of the Leil HaSeder, and it's brachaless. According to Chachmenu, I met 2 weeks ago in the Baruch here, but I'm going to start with, I think, the most amazing of the answers. If someone were to ask you, what do you have to do to be Yoitza the mitzvah of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim? What's the minimum? What's the maximum?
Pesach Matzah Maror.
Okay. I like your answer, and soon we're going to try to blow that one out of the water. But that's a good answer. That's what Rebbe Gamliel seems to say. But I will just mention to you that that's not necessarily that all the Rishonim do not agree that that's what Rabbi Shmuel says. Rebbe Gamliel says, Pesach Matzah Maror, according to some, means you're not yet to those mitzvahs. They're not talking about the mitzvah Sipur. When you eat the matzah, you have to explain what you're eating. When you eat the maror, you have to say you're eating. With the pesach, you have to say you're eating. But who says that's going on the mitzvah of magid? So the simple understanding is that it is going on the mitzvah of magid, and that's why, because it's in the parsha of magid. But it's actually a machlokes rishonim what the pshat in Rabbi Gamliel is. But I like your answer. But soon we're going to be very surprised to find out otherwise. At least according to many rishonim. I'm going to read to you the Rosh. The Rosh says as follows. Just have to find the paper over here. Sha'alta, lama ein mevorchim al Sipur Hagadol. Harbe dvarim tziva Kadosh Baruch Hu lasa zecher l'tzias Mitzrayim, ve'em mevorchim lech. There are many mitzvahs that we do zecher l'tzias Mitzrayim that don't have a bracha, and he gives a list. And the answer is, She'ein tzorch lahaskim v'parshas b'choyro shana oisim zecher l'tzias Mitzrayim. El shetiva Kadosh Baruch Hu lasas ha'maisa. We have to always, when we have an action, we have to do that action. Umitoich kach anu zoichrim yitzias Mitzrayim. V'lav davka, listen to these words. Lav davka hagoda b'peh. It's lav davka that you need hagoda with your mouth. Ela im shalim mefarshim loy. Yechiel, you with me?
I didn't understand it, but I heard. I didn't understand it, but I didn't understand it, but I heard.
Which word didn't you understand?
You don't have
the
to
Rosh
do
says
Sipur.
That there is
you just
no
have to answer
to
questions.
say Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim. You could do it without saying, and it seems to me that he's saying you could do it with actions. Pantomime. You do your achilas matzah, whatever it is that people understand from what you're doing indicates Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim Yaitza. So therefore, there's no mitzvah on it because the mitzvah, there is no such thing as a mitzvah Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim. The Torah says we got it to levincha, and it's not a mitzvah; it's something that's done.
It sounds like it's conditional. It sounds like kishalcha bin chamachar. If he asks, if he doesn't ask.
No, but that's not what it says either. That's not what it says either. He says you're yaitza, and then he says v'lav davka hagoda b'peh ela im yishol mefarshim loy.
Right, but if he doesn't ask,
so then you're yaitza without it, right? Right. So again, this is a rush that's going to need explanation, but I think it was worthwhile coming here tonight to see this rush. You want to see it? It's in Rosh Klach of Dalit, Simon Beis. That's where the rush is. All right. Now I'm going to read the Avrohom. Brings a collection of Rishonim, and things are going to get worse and worse. Okay. Question is great. I think the question needs any explanation. What did you have to say? What did you say? Are we now, if I'm not mistaken, we say that on Shavuos and on Sukkot too, right? Does that have anything to do with the mitzvah of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim? Zecher that we went out of Mitzrayim. That's enough to be Yaitza? Well, that's what he says. V'arash because of Tamach. If you don't like that reason, I'll give you a different reason. She'ein levarach am kriyasa mipnei she mitzvah she'ein lo kitzvah yedua. There is no exact amount that's necessary. Va'afilu b'dibur ba'alma, sheyedaber b'inyi yetzias Mitzrayim yotzim. You're yaitza with one utterance. Ela kol amar ba'reizah meshubach, v'nikra avoda Hashem migadat levicha bayom hahu. But really, what are you yaitza with? All you have to say is one thing. Pesach Matzamar, Yechiel, remember him? Anyways, I'm just reading to you what the Rishonim say. Okay? That's why it's called the mitzvah of Magid isn't at all to say the Sipur of Yetzias Mitzrayim. It's about being Mahalot HaKadosh Baruch Hu, about that which He took us out of Mitzrayim. At this point, I would like to tell you something amazing. Listen to this Meiri and the Anhaga of the Imrei Emes. Okay? The Meiri says as follows. Yesh mi shemazir shaloi levarach lefanel. There are those who say, don't make a bracha on Magid. Okay? And if you have that urge, okay? So the Meiri says, there are those who say, don't get that urge and don't make a bracha on Magid. There's a bracha of the Fika Chanachnu that we say afterwards. You can be yaitza on that which you said in Shul, in Ma'ariv, in Birchas Kriya Shema. So what do we say? Why don't you say bracha on Hakadah? Because you already did. Not in Kiddush, when you were in Shul. V'aval pishay tam boror, mikol mokom minekachu, that we don't make a bracha. Ela sheyesh cholkim u'mevarchim. There are those who actually make a bracha on Magid. That would make me feel very comfortable. I understand why I should make a bracha. You have a mitzvah d'oraisa. All of these answers are answers that leave us in a lurch, a little difficult to understand. But at the end of the day, that's what it says. So, the Imrei Emes, when he davened Ma'ariv, he would have in mind by, if I'm not mistaken, in two places, by Emes V'Amur B'Agbal Yisrael, and on Hallel, which was said in Shul, they make that bracha of Hallel, that it should go for the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. So according to some, and this we discussed a different year on the Hallel that's said in Pesach Knesset and the Hallel that's said at home are part of the same Hallel. For those who remember, that was about, I think, Tafshin Hey or something like that. We discussed that issue. All right. Anyways, so here we have some questions. I think that all of us are a little troubled. What's going on with Magid? That's basically the issues that we have over here. All right. I asked the question originally, and I would like to go back to that question which I asked. How come you don't make a bracha on Kiddush or Birchas Hamazon? So there's a Ritva. I tried to find the Ritva. I wasn't able to find it, but I found others who say this idea. Why do we make a bracha before we do a mitzvah? Let's start even in a simpler place. Why do we make a bracha before we eat food? So the answer to that question is that we spoke about this last week in the daf. A person is making a proclamation that he understands that the food isn't his; it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's. And he is saying, even though it's yours, I appreciate that you let me partake of it, and that's what he's doing. All right. When a person does a mitzvah, what would you say if you were walking down the street and you never saw anybody before and they're wearing tefillin? What would you say? That must some kind of a transmitter or something, right? I don't know, right?
Okay,
That looks kind of odd. What?
I'll tell you so, Sephara.
Yeah, okay, but I don't know. If you'd have to be a pretty big genius to say that. I think the guy looks kind of odd, right? So, what person does a mitzvah, how do you know he's doing a mitzvah? So the Rishonim say that when you make a bracha beforehand, so you're making a statement. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing a mitzvah Kadosh Baruch Hu, and then it sets a reality that mitzvah is done in that reality. That's the purpose of a bracha. So when do I have to have a bracha before I do a mitzvah? When the bracha is an action. But if the mitzvah is a bracha, so then it's superfluous. There's no reason to make a bracha to say what you're doing. Imagine a person is benching. He's saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the food which he gave him. Is there any reason to make a bracha? It's understood that you're doing it's self-understood, so there's no reason to make a bracha altogether. The mitzvah of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim, there are those who say, is self-evident. We are coming to say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like the Gemara which we mentioned yesterday, if there's an Eved who goes free, of course he's going to thank his master. So when we are thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the idea of the bracha is archaic. It doesn't belong here altogether. It's self-implicit in that which he's doing. So there's no reason to have it there at all. That's an answer which some of us give. Some of the Mefarshim give. I would like to wrap this up with there's a few questions that need to be answered. Yechiel asked this question of, you have to say Pesach Matzah Maror, and can you really do it with one? It says Lechem Sha'ani Lavzorim Harbe. So what's really going on? So there's a question which I would like to address this year. Okay, I'm addressing it for fun because it's not Nageya, but I'm discussing this year, we'd understand it. Someone would say to me, I would like my son to be by the Seder because I want to be Mekayim the mitzvah. We got it on him. And the mitzvah is to be Mesaper to the ben. So is that legitimate to break the law of coming together? To Mekayim the mitzvah Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim? This is a theoretical question on this. I'm not discussing this on a halacha l'maisa level. And the answer to that question is, I would say, well, listen, it says in the Torah, if he doesn't have a ben, then he has his friend ask him. His friend's not there, his wife asks him. If his wife's not there, then he asks himself. So if someone wants to know, am I a mahader if I invite my children to Leil HaSeder? Eli, what do you say? What do you say? You think that you're mahader? I can't hear you. You're talking to yourself. What?
That happens a lot. No, because it's vigarat levincha. You have to. It's part of what your obligation is.
So your obligation is to get your kids there. That's what you think. So if a person doesn't have any kids, so he's missing out. It's like taking 3 of the species, not all 4 of them on Sukkot.
Because kulanu chachamim kulanu nevonim. You still have to tell it over to yourself, regardless if your kids are there.
So bottom line, you get a half of credit, a whole credit. What do you think the halacha is?
I'll defer to you.
Okay, that's good. Okay. All right. Now I feel empowered. Anyways. Lahader. Okay. I would like to take issue with that lahader because, and I think that's really part of the answer, but I don't know what that word lahader means. What is it? Who said that? Who said it lahader?
Ori Murray.
What does lahader mean?
It means that it's doing it in the best possible way. The mitzvah is, regardless, you have to give it between yourself and yourself, but the spitz way of doing it is giving it over to your children.
Okay, fine. I believe that you're pretty close to correct. And I would like to ask you a different question. When I was young, so the first thing you do when you came back to school after the Leil HaSeder, say, so what time was your Seder over? Right? For some reason, nobody asked, so what time did your Seder start? Thank goodness nobody asked that question. But at any rate, mitzvah to say Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim when? From when it's night. So the Rambam says, until he falls asleep. And not only that, there are those who ask a question, how can you say it's Elo Kitzvah? It has a Kitzvah, you fall asleep. A person who went to sleep and he didn't fall asleep saying the Haggadah, was he Yoitzel Lechatchila?
And if he has an insomnia and that can't fall asleep?
So then he should definitely be saying the Haggadah. He shouldn't be reading a novel. I don't know. No, but I'm asking a question. What does it mean that you have to do it until you fall asleep? That means that there's no limit to the mitzvah. Does that mean that if you did it for less than that time, you weren't Makayim the mitzvah or not? What does that mean? So I understand, so that's why, Uri, you said the idea that it's a hiddur. So sometimes the hiddur is more, and sometimes just more intense. The more Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim that you do, the more you're Makayim. It's not a pass-fail course. What?
Harzeh Meshubach. It's just makes it even better the longer you go.
Makes it even better. So that's even more than a hiddur. Now there's a question in the Paiskim. There's a question in the Paiskim, which is a fascinating question. I'm going to bring this in to get a little bit of clarity. I mentioned in the Mishnah Berurah here the question whether you're Yaitza, the mitzvah of Shemea, Yaitza Hagadol with Shemea Ka'ona, or you have to say everything. And I'm not discussing that question right now. I'm discussing a different question. There are those who question the idea, and the halacha is that you could be, bottom line, the Shulchan Aruch Rav says, the Mechas Chinuch says, most places can say that you could be Yaitza the mitzvah of Haggadah with Shemea Ka'ona. Even somebody who's not saying it, if somebody is being Moitzi them, they could be Yaitza. And even Rav Elyashiv isn't sure if you need Shemea Ka'ona or just Shemi alone is enough. It has to be actually said it or you heard it. As long as you, as we discussed yesterday in Haggadah Shir, you intellectually ingested it and you became fired up over it, that's enough. You don't even have to say it. It just has to happen to you. Okay? Sounds to me like the rush. You don't really need a dibur. But anyways, a person has to take in the Haggadah, and if the mitzvah is to tell a derech shayla v'tshuva, what does it mean shayla v'tshuva? You know, I could tell you, say over my story. So there's a biography and an autobiography. What's the difference between the two? Because when the person says it himself, there's a personal touch which can't be duplicated by the person who's doing the biography. It can't be the same way. So if the mitzvah is that I have to give over to my children my feelings of impression, understanding, and my thankfulness that I have to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to that, which Shemea Ka'ona said. So Shemea Ka'ona can address, that's like you said, the text. But if the mitzvah is that you have to give it yourself, so how could you be able to Shemea Ka'ona? And I'll give you an illustration of this idea. I heard this the first time B'Shem Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky about Tfilas HaDerech, and later on I saw it in the Chuvas Hamabit about the halacha of Parsin al Hashma of making birchas tachanunim. The word tachanunim means supplications. Could I be yaitza a supplication by somebody doing it for me? It doesn't really go. Understand, a supplication is a private thing that I am expressing my emotional needs, concerns, etc. And if I'm going to have somebody else doing it, so then it's stale, it's not good, it doesn't really work. So therefore, Yaakov Kamenetsky said that the bracha of Tfilas HaDerech is tachanunim, and it's proper that each person should say it themselves and shouldn't be yaitza with somebody else, because it's a personal expression. A personal expression, the idea of Shemea Ka'ona doesn't really go together with it. It's because Shemea Ka'ona is just you're living vicariously through him. You know, also I could say it's like if you had a person who wrote a song, he would have a very hard time hearing somebody else sing it. Uri, is that correct? Hello, you still here, Uri? Anyways, but anybody who's an artist, really, it gets under his skin when somebody else does his piece of art. Okay, anybody, I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. Everybody in their field, when they see somebody else abuse the field, they get really bothers them. So the idea of Magid is a person has to bring it out from within, and therefore some place can say that it doesn't help Shomea Ka'oneh. We pass in Halacha L'maisa, it does help Shomea Ka'oneh, and my understanding is that it depends how you relate to it. Avada and Avada, it's Lech Sha'olam Dorim Harbe, and there are different levels, just like there's a level that you should do it Dashel Tshuva, you should do it to your son Bedafka. All these things are embellishments that make it happen better. But the question is, and I'm asking this question to all of you, who benefits from the father who he says it over to his kids? He's Mekayim the mitzvah of Vigarat Levincha Bihi Duro. Who is Mekayim the mitzvah in the best way? The father or the son?
Both of them.
Shomea Ka'oneh?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't have a riot to this.
I
But
think
it's a mitzvah on the father that he should tell it to his son. And I'm just going to point out to you, this is the question. You have over here a father, a son, and a grandson. So the grandfather says, I would like you, my son, to come to me for the Seder, Shashuyakad the mitzvah of Vigarat Levincha. And the son tells his father, I would like to stay at home, so I could be the mitzvah of Vigarat Levincha. Can the grandfather say that I'll be Mekayim your mitzvah, we got it to the Mitzvah, I'll be your shliach?
Nobody could throw in the Trump move there we go. What? Yeah, but he could throw in Kibbud Av.
I'm not discussing right now the Kibbud Av aspect. I'm discussing the mitzvah Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim aspect. Is it all the same? Everybody's Mekayim it the same?
Does the grandfather not have an obligation to tell it over to the grandson?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody has an obligation to tell it to anybody. It's derech shayla tshuva. Could very well be that the whole thing is this is the way that I get out of my system when I tell it over to my son, because that's how I really get into my heart and express it. And this is, I'll just mention this. I mentioned this a few years ago. There's a famous discussion which David Soloveitchik, I think, is from the originators, and later on Baruch Finkel from the Mir and his Sefer, which the Mitzvah Hashem when our shul is opened shortly b'mehera, you could take a look in the piece over there. I haven't seen it for a few years, but he discusses the following question: if the grandfather came to Eretz Yisrael for Sukkot, and he was for Pesach, and he's by his son for the Leil HaSeder, and the son holds one day and the father holds 2 days, is there any benefit in the son being there for the second night when it's not Leil HaSeder for him, in order that his father should be Mekayim the mitzvah of Vigarat Levincha? Because as far as the son is concerned, it's just like on Shavuos. There is no mitzvah of Vigarat Levincha. The guy with his father is a day off. Are you Mekayim the mitzvah of Vigarat Levincha? Is there any benefit in the son being there or not? Ari, what do you say? All right. Anyways.
I'm thinking about something else. I'm thinking about the whole. We said yesterday's pasuk. Esa shir salati b'mitzrayim is amanta sefer baznei bincha uben bincha, both together. So there's a mitzvah for both.
Okay. I don't know if that's part of the mitzvah. That's Sheffer discussed that question, and actually the Gemara in Kedushin seems to be a little bit of a riot. And I'll just end off. Maybe we'll end off over here because we're running out of time. Rav David Soloveitchik brings a raya from a Mishnah in Kedushin that everybody knows. The Gemara, the Mishnah in Chavtes speaks about the mitzvahs of Av al Ben, Ben al Av, obligations that a father has to his son and obligations sons have to the father. And it doesn't say anywhere over there the mitzvah of Yitzias Mitzrayim. So from there he brings a raya that it's not an obligation the father and the son and the father. It's just a way that it's done better. And according to that, in my opinion, this is not what the David said. According to that, if you do it better with your son there, so then vada, you're helping your father to facilitating that he should have a better kiyum. Bottom line, I think that it comes out of most of the poskim, whether there is or isn't a chiyuv, or there is a shir or there isn't a shir, or the bottom line is that the mitzvah of Igara to Levincha, a person has to understand it's his obligation that he excite himself, and by exciting himself, he'll excite the other people around him, and we should be Zeicha Mirtz Hashem to have our Leil HaSeder. We should go to Yerushalayim this year without any corona. We should be there and bring our korbanos. Good night.
Amen.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay. Thank you.